Time to talk about equations of lines. So you're going to be writing equations of lines in three different forms. Slope-intercept form. M is obviously your slope, and the B is your y-intercept. Standard form, you have A, B, and C. A and B are the coefficients of x and y, and C is your constant. Now, basically, the rules are you're not allowed to have any fractions or decimals when you are in standard form, and A is always positive. And finally, you have point slope form, which, in my opinion, is one of the most important forms because it's really easy to graph and write equations from. And you can easily manipulate that to go into slope-intercept form and standard form. M, again, is your slope, but your point is x1 comma y1. Okay? So those are the three different forms you will be working with. Now there's a couple of different types of lines. You have coinciding lines. That's when you have two lines with the exact same equation. So you take a line, you graph it, and then you have an exact same line stacked right on top of it. Those are when lines coincide. Intersecting lines, obviously, they do exactly what it says. They intersect at one point. Parallel lines, we know, are lines that will never intersect. And perpendicular lines are the lines that intersect to make right angles. So those are four different types of line pairs. Finally, x equals a number, that is a vertical line, and y equals a number is a horizontal line. Now there's a little thing I learned from a student in the past, how you can memorize that better, and it's by saying hoivux. And that means a horizontal line has a 0 slope, and it is a y equals equation. Okay, so this is the type of line, this is your slope, and this is your type of equation. And then for the next one, a vertical line has an undefined slope and has an x equals equation. Okay, so that's just a little tip. If you want to use it to help you out, great. If not, no worries. So, WEL, write the equation of a line with, and you need to be able to write an equation of a line from any form. So this one just straight up gives you M, which is your slope, and your y-intercept, aka B. So we just get to write y is equal to 2/3 x plus 4. And that's it. That one is done. The next one, now we're going to assume for all of these, we're going to write these in slope-intercept form, unless stated otherwise. So for this next one, we're just going to say, write it in slope-intercept form, but as I mentioned before, I think it's always easiest to start with point slope form. I think that's one of the most important ones. So my point slope form would be y minus y1. Well, this is my x1 and this is my y1. So this would be y minus 2 is equal to my given slope of 1/2 times x minus my x1, which is 4. Now, even though that's not slope-intercept form, the reason why I like point slope form first is you can just distribute this, and you can just go to 1/2 x minus 2. And that's equal to y minus 2. And then you just add 2 to both sides, and you get your final answer already. Y is equal to 1/2 x. And that's it. You're done. Otherwise, you might do it the way you learned back in the day, where you just have y is equal to mx plus b. You plug in your m, you put the x and y, and then you solve for b, and then you remember to go back and write the equation for b. But point slope form, in my opinion, is just a much faster and better way to do it. So that's why I showed you that way. The next one. And just for fun, we'll just actually say, let's leave this one in point slope form after we find it. Now, when you have 2 points, you obviously have to find the slope first. This time it was not given. So luckily, the last video showed you how to do this. So you have -4 minus 2 over a -1 minus 2, which is going to give us a -6 over a -3, which is 2. So the slope of these 2 points is 2. But now to write the equation, you actually have 2 different answers that would be correct. You can do y minus 2 is equal to 2 times x minus 2, or you could do y plus 4 is equal to 2 times x plus 1. Because you have 2 points, and nobody tells you which point you choose. You get to pick for yourself. So this one said leave it in point slope form. You leave it in slope form, and you're done. So the next one, moving on to the next one. The first thing you have to do is find the slope. So you're going to do 0 minus 3 is over to 2 minus 2 is equal to negative 3 over 0. And you remember that this is undefined. Now, very popular mistake is people just say, all right, undefined. I'm just going to leave it as undefined. But that is not what you are doing. We are writing the equation of a line, which means the equation of a line is not undefined. The equation of an undefined line, or undefined slope, go back to Hoyvuk's. Undefined slope is an x equals graph. So, x equals, and you just have to look for a second to see that x is equal to 2 in both cases. So that's a little shortcut. So it's x equals 2. The last one, you have an x-intercept, which we know is 3, 0, and you have a y-intercept, which is 0, 4. Now you need to, again, find the slope, and for this one, I'm going to say go ahead and write it in slope-intercept form. So why don't you pause the video and try this on your own and see if you get the correct answer. So to get from 0 to 4, you had to add 4. To get from 3 to 0, you had to subtract 3. So your slope is negative 4/3. So now, as I've mentioned before, pick a point. I'm going to go with 3, 0. So that's going to be y minus y1, which is 0. So technically, I don't even need to write minus 0. So y is equal to my slope, negative 4/3 times x minus 3. Now all I need to do is distribute the negative 4/3. So y is equal to negative 4/3 x plus 4. And you are now done with that example. So if you got that, you are good to go. Okay, now we need to move. We're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular equations. So this just looks like it's more complicated, but really it's not. The only thing this is saying is write a line that's parallel to this y is equal to 1/2 x minus 6. Well, the only thing you need is what the slope is of this line, and the slope of this is 1/2. So if the slope of that line is 1/2, now we just have to think about parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same slope, so this is basically with a slope of 1/2 through the point 4, 8. So for this one, all you have to do is y minus 8 is equal to 1/2 times x minus 4. Distribute the 1/2. Y minus 8 is equal to 1/2 x minus 2. Add your 8 to both sides. Y is equal to 1/2 x plus 6. And that's it. You're done. So the next one says perpendicular. The problem is not much different than the one we just did except for the slope. So in this, our slope is 2/3. What slope is perpendicular to 2/3? Answer, negative 3/2. Opposite reciprocal. So now, all you have to do again is y minus 2 is equal to negative 3/2 times x minus 1. And we can just leave it right there for now, because really the only point of that question was for you to learn how to go from 2/3 to a negative 3/2 when it says perpendicular. If I asked for it in slope-intercept form, all you would have to do is distribute the negative 3/2 and you would be good to go. So we have 2 more questions here. First question is, what kind of lines are these? Are they parallel? Are they perpendicular? Do they coincide, or do they just intersect? So this one we know the slope is 2/3. This one we have to get into slope-intercept form so you can find the slope first. So this is going to give us y is equal to negative 3/2 x plus 9/2. So the slope, as we can see, is negative 3/2. So we have a positive 2/3 and a negative 3/2. We know that these are perpendicular lines. Okay? So the last thing I want to do really quick is change y is equal to 1/3 x plus 2 into standard form. That's the only thing we haven't talked about yet. So remember, standard form means we have to be ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c cannot be fractions or decimals, and a always needs to be positive. So the first thing you need to do here is get rid of this fraction. So to get rid of one fraction, all you have to do is multiply the entire thing by the denominator. So 3 times y is 3y is equal to 1/3 times 3 is 1, so x plus 3 times 2 is 6. And now you need to bring the x to the left side, so you're going to subtract x from both sides, and you're going to get negative x plus 3y is equal to 6. Only problem with that is a is negative, so now all you have to do is change that to positive, that to negative, and that to negative, so your answer is x minus 3y is equal to a negative 6. And that's how you move from slope-intercept form to standard form. All right, so that's it for writing equations of lines. This is Longo, and I'm out. See you, bye.